Did anybody watch the King Charles's Christmas address? I've been starting to watch the Queen's ones over the last few years, and so jumped on to see what kind of King did. Anybody watch it? I think that's probably a Bondi thing. Not many Bondi people would watch the Queen's address. I had a look, and it was really interesting. And you know, he's hard up against it because she was pretty great in many ways. And you know, that's just a hard, not act, but it's a hard act to follow, isn't it? Somebody so noble. So of course he mentioned her at the start, and he said, "My mother had great faith in God and in people." And then he did his leave and kind of continue away from her, and he said, "And I too have faith in people." So he kind of left the God bit and moved on with, "I have faith in people." And then he went through and listed some really beautiful things that people are doing and have been doing that gives him hope at Christmas, and kind of why he thinks things are going to be okay. So he listed the various charities and emergency workers, these kinds of things, and said, actually, humans aren't too bad. We're probably going to be okay. That was my little kind of summary of his message. Really interesting though. He made it really clear that, yes, I know my mum believes in God. I believe in people, have faith in God. And here's the question for you at the start of the year. Where is your faith? Is it in God? Is it in humanity? I think it's probably a bit too hopeful. Is it somewhere else? Is it just in yourself that you're going to keep things together? Do you think that you don't have any faith? It's not my question at the start of the year. This is Jesus' question that we find here in Luke chapter 8. In Luke chapter 8, Jesus asks his disciples, it's a really interesting way to put it, where is your faith? I think he's implying that it's somewhere else, which we'll come to soon. And it comes up in this incident where they're crossing a lake and the storm comes up, and you heard it. But let me just go through it really briefly before I come to some points and some questions. So it starts off with Jesus' idea to cross the lake. And so they hop into a boat to go to the other side. It says at the start of Luke chapter 8 that Jesus is set on preaching the good news of the kingdom. He's getting it out, moving around. And so at this point, halfway through chapter 8, it's time to move into a new place, so they go across the lake. And it says that they sailed and he slept. As they sailed, he slept. Really interesting. They're experts. Sorry, not all of them. Some of them are tax collectors. I'm guessing they're not very good with boats. But a bunch of them are fishermen. And so some of them are experts and have some real competency with boats. They sailed and he slept. Also really interesting that he slept. We've just celebrated at Christmas that Jesus is God in the flesh. That this is the one who holds all things together and doesn't sleep. But the second part of what we celebrate at Christmas is that the God who does not sleep has taken to himself a second nature, your nature, human nature. And so Jesus sleeps. The mighty God who does not need rest has humbled himself and become like you at Christmas. This is a few years later. And here he does that thing that you and I need to do as well, because he shared in our weakness. He sleeps. And so we find them sailing and Jesus sleeping. I wonder what you're confident at. Everybody's competent at something. Most people are competent at a number of things, and I'm guessing that most of you are pretty good at what you do. You've worked out how to do the thing that you do, and there'd be probably 30 different things in this room, at least, wouldn't there? Well, these guys are good with boats, or some of them are good with boats, and that's, I guess, a reason why he thought this was an opportune time to sleep. That's how the situation starts. And in verse 23, it says that a squall, so this is not like some swell, this is a squall, came down on the lake so that the boat was being swamped. I've never been in a sinking boat, but have you been in a canoe that's taken on water? I think most people had that experience at school camp or something where, and they stop gliding, don't they, the canoes, when they've got some water in them. And they kind of roll and lurch. And it's this horrible feeling, and it's wrong. Can you imagine that with a boat? This boat, it begins to not just kind of go up and down in the storm, but there's water coming in. and they say it's filling with. It says that it's filling up, it's being swamped, and they're in great danger. They're now moved outside of their expertise, and this is true for all of us. There's so much that we can control, but there's always factors outside that can come in and just remind us that we're not in control of everything. We're not competent to hold the world together. And on that day, it was a storm. And so they go and they wake him, saying, Master, Master, we're going to drown. We're going to perish, is what they're saying. And they wake him up. I've been pondering about this, and I don't know the answer yet. I know what I think the passage is teaching you and I. But here's a question: why do you think what do they want from him when they wake him? Because he seems disappointed with their faith at the end. He says, "Where was your faith? Where is your faith?" So when they go to wake him, because that's what you're supposed to do as someone who follows Jesus. When you have a problem, you go to Jesus. But I think that they probably are just going to him to say, we're drowning, wake up, hurry up. Like, we've got to jump off the boat. I'm not quite sure, but it's an interesting one to think about. What are they going to him for when they go to him? But they go to him and they say, wake up, we're drowning. And then he does something that you and I, it's crazy to read because you and I can't do it. This is way out of experience. It says, he got up and he rebuked the winds and the waves. Actually, maybe you have tried to control the weather. Maybe you had a birthday party and you really needed the rain to stop or to start or something. I remember when I was in primary school, when I was 8 or 9, and me and my friend saw the grey clouds, and it really looked like it was going to be thunder. And I thought, let's see if we can cause the thunder to come. And so on 3, we yelled, I don't know what we yelled. I think we yelled thunder and or now or something. And you know what happened? Nothing, because I'm just of human nature. Nothing. But Jesus is like me, but he's also not like me. Luke's gospel is presenting that this is someone special. This is someone different to you, although there's a likeness to you as well. And so when Jesus rebukes the wind and the waves, it says the storms subsided and all was calm. It's amazing. And you can imagine going from the noise, the rage of the storm, and then Jesus' loud voice. Would you imagine that? And then silence of calm. And Jesus looks at them and asks them a question. Where's your faith? Where is your faith? And this is the context of the question that we're looking at this evening. Where is your faith? And it's such a good question to ask at the start of 2023. Whether you are a Christian person or maybe you're just visiting, it's 1st of January, maybe you thought you popped to church. I'm really glad either way. It's a good question for all of us, for everybody to ask. Where is my faith? I want to start by thinking about what faith is. Hebrews chapter 11 in the New Testament tells us that faith is confidence in what you can't see. Faith is confidence in what you can't see, which sounds like stupidity, doesn't it? And indeed, there's been lots of atheist writers in the first decade or two of the 2000s, like Richard Dawkins, who wrote about faith. It's just a blind leap in the dark, and it's really stupid. And you guys have got to stop doing it. Is basically what they say. And Hebrews 11 does say it's confidence in things that you can't see. But it's more than a blind leap in the dark, and it's more than stupidity. It's not stupidity at all. It's about jumping into things that you can't see because you trust the person who's telling you to. It's not just, find a dark hole and jump into it, or just kind of go close your eyes and see what happens. It's go to a place that you can't see in front of you, where you can't see in front of you, because you trust the person who's leading you there with your life. There's a very beautiful story that Nicky Gumbel, who's an English pastor in London, runs the Alpha course. He tells this beautiful story. He said that he knows of a boy who was in the air raids in London in World War II. Bombs start flying and the alarms go off, and his dad whisks him out to the backyard to the bomb shelter and says, quick, let's go hop in the bomb shelter. And his dad jumps into the dark hole and goes down and calls out to his son, okay, I'm down here, jump in. And the son says, I can't see, it's dark. And his dad calls out, that's okay, I can see you. Come in. And he gets into safety. This is a picture of faith. It's not jumping into any old hole, any old dark place. It's hearing a voice that you trust. I don't want to send you out as Christians and say, go and have faith. Just go with faith now. I want to send you out and say, put your faith in Jesus because he's trustworthy. It's not a blind leading. Okay, but there's 4 things I want to talk about going around this question that Jesus has for us. Where is it? First of all, take us through, please, Sarah, to the point. That one there. First of all, you have faith. And I do think that Jesus' question suggests this. He obviously wants faith in himself, but he's saying, where is your faith? Because it doesn't seem to be in me. I'm guessing because they were so worried. And I think he's saying you shouldn't have worried so much. And it suggests that their faith is in something else. Maybe their faith was in their own abilities, that we're going to get to the other side of the lake because that's just what we do because we have expertise. Maybe their faith was in themselves. Where is your faith? Maybe it was in themselves. Maybe their faith was in Jesus for something that he hadn't promised. Maybe their faith was in Jesus that he would never take them into a dangerous storm. But that's not what he promised. And so their faith wasn't actually in him enough. And he wants to know, where is your faith? And I'm suggesting that we all have faith all the time. We have faith. Because there's plenty of things that are unseen in yours and my reality. There's plenty of things that are unseen in which you have to have confidence. You don't know, and you can't see and you can't prove, and you have to make a decision. So you do these things with a thing that is called faith. Confidence, even though you can't see yourself. So let me give you some examples. I'll start with some kind of big level, like kind of the biggest things. Some people say that there is no God, and some people say that there is. And actually, whatever your view is, that there is a God, that there, I don't know, or that there isn't a God, all of those are faith positions. They are things that you can't prove, but that you act upon, that you move out into the world with confidence. And so they're all just faith positions that you can't prove. You've got to make a decision, and so you do something. Let me share a few other examples. Life after death. Some of my mates just think it's silly, and some of the podcasters that I listen to think the idea of life after death is just ridiculous. The thing is that they couldn't prove that. They just think that it's ridiculous. It's a faith statement. It's something that you can't see, but they're confident about. And I too am very confident. I'm confident that there is life after death, but I can't prove it to you right now. I can't show you with your eyes that there is life after death. Me and my podcaster friends and my real friends have faith position about these things. Let me take it down a notch to something more practical. The endeavor of science takes faith. Those atheists that I told you about in the early 2000s, Richard Dawkins and his friends who wrote lots of books, wanted to say science and faith are really different things. But I studied agricultural science, and the endeavor of science does take a kind of faith. It takes confidence in things that you can't see. For example, you've got to trust that the microscope in front of you is working, and it really is showing 200 magnification, or perhaps 2000 magnification, that the label's right, but you haven't been to the factory to check, and you don't have a way of kind of proving it every time you use it. There's a level of trust, and I'd say it's well-placed. It's really well-placed faith, but it's a kind of faith. If you want to look into this, there's a philosopher from the 60s and 70s called Polanyi. He's Polish, and he talks about how science is just full of faith assumptions, and they're all mostly really good ones, but science itself is based on a kind of trust of each other. The peer review system, for example, is trusting that other people are trustworthy and they're not telling lies, and I can listen to them. And you're building on the knowledge of other people, trusting that they did their experiments properly. I'm not at all anti-science. I'm just saying it's an act of many small acts of faith. And so the first thing what I'm trying to make here is that all of us have faith in unproven things. The question is just which unproven things are we trusting? And are we willing to think about why we trust those things? A second thing I want to say now, and shorter, is that your faith has you. You have faith. Second thing, your faith has you. But I was just thinking to me that the things that you trust about the world, even though you can't prove them, things that you're confident about will form you. They're like an anchor that you put down. Actually, Hebrews says that faith is like an anchor. The things that you trust about the world and why we exist and what I'm here for and what's behind reality and is there something behind reality, it's like an anchor that you put down and your boat will swing around that anchor. And it won't go over there if you have this faith assumption. If you have this faith assumption about reality, it won't go over here. And I suspect that the really ugly side of our society, of us is what I'm talking about, but our society more broadly, the selfishness and the self-absorption that goes on, I think that probably comes from our confidence and our faith assumptions about what life's about. For decades and decades, our music and our Disney and all these things have been saying, look inside of yourself, just follow, just have a feel inside and then follow those ideas. And I think that we have got what you get with those faith assumptions, that inside is the best place to seek guidance from. And we're self-absorbed. And we get bored because we're looking inside, and we don't treat other people very well because we're looking inside. Equally, I think that my best bet for not being self-absorbed, and I've seen this work in other people, my best bet for not being self-absorbed is to have my faith not in myself, but in Jesus. I'll go to that more soon. The second point I'm saying is that where you place your faith will form you. It will govern how your 2023 will be. And so it really pays to be careful about it. And again, I want to just be interested in what King Charles was saying, that he has faith in humanity and kind of the power of our goodness. It's a really interesting example, because the example I used before about science is just one example of the many just little bits of faith that we use as we go through life. But it's a mode of engaging in a world where you can't prove everything empirically all the time. But what Jesus is asking is, where is your priority in life? What do you think? He's asking the big picture question. What do you think life is about? What do you think you are? What do you think you're here for? Where is your faith? So, yes. So where I want to go thirdly is faith with reason. Faith with reason. As I say, some of the atheists writing in the early 2000s have tried to split faith and reason and say faith's one thing, reason's a different thing. However, I think that's just a really unnecessary or just an incorrect dichotomy. Instead, you ought to place your faith in things that are reasonable to trust. You ought to place your faith in things that are faith-worthy. Another word for faith in the New Testament language is trust. You ought to place your trust, even though you can't see yourself, but you ought to place your trust in things that are trustworthy. Like, I don't know what your father was like, but that boy could trust his father's voice. And so that was a trustworthy thing to place his faith in. If some random had called out from a dark corner and said, hey, jump in this hole, that would be an untrustworthy source, right? Or an untested source. No, we all need to make faith assumptions about what I'm here for and who am I and what what is the world, what is it for, is there a God? We need to make decisions about things that you can't see. What will I live for? We need to make decisions, and I'm saying use logic about what is reasonable. Okay. And I'm going to suggest that the most reasonable faith assumption to make about those biggest sort of questions is to trust Jesus. Is to put your faith in Jesus as the one who is in control and who knows the answers and can see where you can't see. Back in Daniel chapter 2, it says about God that he is the one who sees in the dark. unlike you and I. And I think it makes the most sense in the world to place your faith in Jesus. And this story about the storm and the boat going through it and what happens is not a parable. It's not a metaphor for your life, that there'll be storms in your life and stay in the boat with Jesus. I think we can apply it that way, and you should take it home and think about that. And if things are hard this year, you should think about the metaphor of a storm. But it's not mainly, it's not firstly a metaphor or a parable. It is Jesus revealing that he's trustworthy. It is Jesus showing you that he has control over these kinds of things. It's a revelation of who he is. And that's what the gospel does. Jesus in the gospels comes and kind of, you see what he's like, and he invites you to follow him. And I think that the way he talks and the way he speaks about existence and reality and about me makes most sense of my experience. I think that he is worthy of our trust. And particularly in Luke chapter 8, you see that he's in control of things. And sometimes he'll lead us, he'll lead the people that follow him into storms. But he's trustworthy. And he can even be trustworthy in things as deep and as dark as death. He himself died on the cross, and yet had, like he had power over the storm, he also has power over death and comes out the other side. And there's nothing in the world that is as trustworthy as Jesus. You'll find lots of good things that he's created and put in the world, but there's nothing as good or as powerful, as secure as Jesus. So I want to encourage you, I want to push you to say, 2023, follow Jesus. That's what he wants. You should see in the rest of the gospel, when he sees faith, he's excited. He sees the faith of the centurion. He says, I haven't seen faith like this anywhere else. Faith is what he wants from us. Not blind faith. I'm not saying close your eyes and do dumb things. I'm saying listen to the words of Jesus. Hear what it is he promises and what he doesn't promise. And follow him. And trust him that he'll be who he says that he'll be. And he'll lead you. So I want you to think in these just a few moments as we close up. What are you prone to put your faith in to get you through? What's the big story that you have about life if it's not Jesus? Is it King Charles, which I find pretty unconvincing what he says? You know, I think humans are going to be okay because at heart we're pretty good. I mean, we just don't have a great track record, and the thing is, we do great things like charity and emergency work, and we just continually disappoint each other and hurt the people that we love, don't we? I don't put my faith in humanity, so that's not my temptation. But what is my and what is your temptation to place your faith in, to be okay by the end of 2023, to do well by the end of 2023? Is it when I work hard, things work out? So I'm going to work hard. Maybe you place your faith in yourself. Or maybe it's a person. If I just stick around this person, or if I just find this kind of person for my life, things are going to be okay. If I can just sort out this part of my relationship or this thing, things are going to be okay. If I just have this pay level, or if I can secure a house, things are going to be okay. That's a form of putting your faith in something other than Jesus, in sorting your life in a way other than Jesus. And none of those things are as secure as him. And actually, it's also sin. You're allowed to want those things. I'm allowed to plan and hope for and look forward to and know that things will be better if I have that. But not at the cost of faith in Jesus. Because I was created for a relationship with him. You were created for a relationship with him. He wants you in 2023 to trust yourself most of all, to jump in the hole with him. It's safer in there with him. So look at Jesus right here in Luke chapter 8. The one who can calm storms. He is our God, and he's calling you for this year to follow him and trust him. I'll do that. We're going to sing. I got mixed up before about which songs we're singing. When? Now we're going to sing the one from Corbelli Anglican Church, which they've made. Be Thou My Vision. It's an old hymn, and it's just right for us at this point after hearing from Luke 8 and being at the start of that. Let's stand up and sing, ask and pray him to be our mission.